Welcome to Learn to Live with the Sports Talk. I'm your host, Stephen Lerner. So, recently, the New York Knicks, yes, my favorite sports team, my favorite basketball team, the circus that they are, the New York Knicks just recently signed a new GM named Scott Perry and gave Steve Mills a promotion to become president of the organization. That is after firing the one and only Phil, Mr. Triangle Jackson, from his position only a couple days after the NBA draft, which to me is bonkers. So, just to start out, who needs to learn to live with it? It's us, the Knicks fans, and also the NBA and the NBA fans. Yes, we all need to learn to live with it on this. Because the Knicks are a circus. I am a big fan of them. And it just pains me to say that they are the worst run sports organization in all, and I mean all of sports. Not just the NBA, but in all of sports. And it starts from the top. The one and only James Dolan. I don't even know where to begin. But again, recently we just got a new GM, and we promoted Steve Mills to president. James Dolan, during the press conference where he announced our new GM, Scott Perry, said the hiring of Scott Perry is a culture change in New York. What the hell is he talking about? The only culture change we need for the New York Knicks is for your ass to be gone. You are the worst owner in all of sports. That's the culture change the Knicks need. Since you've been running the New York Knicks, the Knicks have gone nowhere. They've just been nothing other than a joke. They've only been on page 6 news of the New York Post, or the back pages, as a freaking joke. All these GMs and presidents that you've hired with Scott Layden, Isaiah Thomas, Phil Jackson. Now you promoted Steve Mills. This is going nowhere. I've said this to my friends, and it's hard to say. I've said this to other Knicks fans, but the Knicks are not going anywhere as long as we have James Dolan as our owner. We fire Phil Jackson just a few days after the NBA draft. Why not fire him before the NBA draft? Why even do agree to the 2-year option with Phil Jackson? Everybody was saying fire Phil Jackson during the season. He not only did he go after our best player on the team, Carmelo Anthony, calling him out. He went off after players in other organizations, calling them out. Trying to trade our best player, Melo. He went after Porzingis, even offering to trade him probably, during the week of the draft. But during the season, he made comments that he made it so no NBA free agent wants to sign with the Knicks or come to New York while Phil Jackson was in charge. Dude, Dolan, wake the hell up. Why would you sign him to that 2-year option? Okay, you signed him. and then you fire him 3 days after the NBA draft? No. It makes no sense. Now you're stuck to pay the rest of the money that you owe him. So you basically hired Phil Jackson for how many years it was, for $60 million. And he did what? This guy did what? No previous experience as a president. He made this team even worse than they were when he signed up. And then he, instead of firing Phil Jackson before the NBA draft so he can get a pretty decent draft pick, James Dolan is too busy going to a bar to play with a guitar with his band. And he leaves Phil Jackson to draft Frank Ntilikina Now listen, I don't know anything about Frank Ntilikina. I'm hoping he does. He's a good player, but the only reason he got drafted was because Phil Jackson thought he can play in the triangle offense. Well, the pick right after us, which everybody thought maybe the Knicks should get as a player, was Dennis Scott Jr. I mean Dennis Smith Jr. And he's killing it in the he's killing it in the summer league right now. We could have also drafted Monk, which I think got drafted in the 10th or 11th pick. I don't even know what to say about the Knicks, man. And 3 days later, Dolan fires, or maybe a week later, Dolan fires Phil Jackson. And then there's rumors of the Knicks talking to the Toronto Raptors president GM, and I was happy about that. I thought, oh, that would be great. We could. He fleeced James Dolan on the Carmelo Anthony trade when he was in Denver, being the president of the Nuggets. He basically let Dolan trade half the New York Knicks rosters for Carmelo Anthony, who said that he wanted to go to the New York Knicks as a free agent later that year. Good job, Dolan. And then when he was president of the Raptors a few years ago, he fleeced Dolan again in the Bargnani trade and got draft picks from him. Dude, that would have been great if we could have signed him as president and GM of the New York Knicks. But no, supposedly he was too expensive to get. Too expensive? Look what this guy has done in Denver and Toronto and against the Knicks. Too expensive? You wasted $60 million on Phil Jackson. As fans of the New York Knicks, we just have to learn to live with it. That this team is a circus and does not know where they are going. A culture change after hiring Scott Perry? I goddamn hope so. You know, let's see. Scott Perry has some good history as an executive in the NBA. He was with the Pistons, and part of the Pistons run, they won the title. They've been to conference playoffs. He was actually with the Sacramento Kings for the last 3 months, and during that draft process, damn, he made some good deals and picks for the Sacramento Kings in just 3 months of being there. I'm hoping that the Knicks listen to what this guy has to do, because right now I am not happy whatsoever. Steve Mills as the president, because we couldn't find anybody out there good enough to take the position. Or giving the reins enough for them to do whatever they wanted. I don't even know what to say. We just recently signed Tim Hardaway Jr. We gave him an offer sheet of 4 years, $71 million. Tim Hardaway Jr. Not Tim Hardaway, but Tim Hardaway Jr., a former Knick. We traded him away like 2-3 years ago. And what can I say? Is it as bad as a signing we did last year for Joakim Noah for 4 years, $72 million? No, it's not as bad. That's one of the worst free agent signings I've ever seen, because Noah is way past his prime, and he's always injured. So for 4 years, $72 million, that was a waste. But 4 years, $71 million for a guy that isn't a number 1, number 2, or a 3 guy on a team, that's a waste too. The freaking Atlanta Hawks were going to offer him $45-50 million max. So the Knicks basically offered him $71 million. They were competing against themselves. It didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. You know, I don't know what the Knicks are doing. Of course, this signing happened before they hired Scott Perry. This was a Steve Mills signing. A James Dolan person, basically. He follows James Dolan. It's tough being a Knicks fan. I don't know what to say. uh, it's tough watching this circus because they just don't know what they're doing. I'm hoping Porzingis is okay with the Knicks right now. He's not so upset at what Phil was trying to do and comes back and shows us, the fans, that he's here to stay and lead this organization. I'm not even saying to the championship right now because we can't even make the playoffs. Lead this organization to be somewhat promising, to have players want to come play in New York and play with Porzingis and help us get into the playoffs. That's our first step. Let's get into the playoffs. Now, what's going on with Carmelo Anthony? Listen, if I was Melo, I'd want out of the Knicks too. As much money as he's making with the Knicks, and much as he loves to be in New York, what Phil Jackson did to him, I'd want to leave. And this process of him being talked about trading, such a close trade to the Rockets, might happen, might not. Now the Knicks are like pausing on the talks of trading him to the Rockets. He's hopeful to get traded to the Rockets. No idea what's going on. Hopefully the talk between Scott Perry, Steve Mills, and Melo goes well, but we'll see what happens. We might not see Melo in a Knicks jersey next season. And you know what? It might be better off for both the organization and for him. But as a Knicks fan, I enjoyed having Melo on the Knicks because he helped out a lot. He didn't have much help. The one year that he did have help with Jason Kidd, Kirk Thomas, Mari Stoudemire, Tyson Chandler, we were second in the Eastern Conference. We went to the playoffs. It was fun to watch. But lately, it's been all Melo offense, and that's it. Nobody else can really score. Porzingis can score here and there, but he's still learning. He's coming into the third year of his career. So I guess we'll see what happens. But us fans, us Knicks fans, us NBA fans, us basketball fans are hurting for a competitive Knicks team. We haven't had that since the 90s. And I would hope that somehow this culture change that James Dolan is talking about actually happens. We want a Knicks team that can compete, that players want to sign with, that us fans can respect, and can actually go out and tell other people that, hey, we are fans of the New York Knicks, and not be embarrassed about saying that. So, good luck to us, the fans, because we definitely need to learn to live with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Learn to Live With It Sports Talk. If you like this video and this channel, please subscribe, like, comment, share, and tell everybody else about it. Come back and enjoy the next video or watch one of the previous videos. Thank you all for enjoying Learn to Live With It Sports Talk.